Hi, and welcome to the Kidney Coach YouTube channel. I am Fiona.
Hello, I'm Lyon.
I normally introduce him. I totally sent you sideways then. I still need to work on my intro, Matt. You still got that down far better than I do.
I try to do something different and spontaneous every single time. Just to keep watching these videos, though.
Yes, I do like the different languages. I think I want your New York accent, though, in one of these coming up soon from Queensland.
Next time.
Yeah, okay. Matt is the master of voices and accents, just in case you don't know. He keeps me entertained whenever we travel together with his amazing different voices. He's a laugh a minute. So we thought today we would speak about Rehmannia, which I say this about every herb, but it is also one of my favorite herbs. I know when I was going through uni, which feels like a very long time ago, I was just saying to Matt before we started this video, all the Chinese herbs seem to be my favorite, but Rehmannia was definitely one of them. So we thought we'd talk to you about Rehmannia today because it is one of these major kidney herbs. But Matt, do you want to start with your amazing Chinese medicine knowledge and take us through what you know about Rehmannia?
Yeah, so Rehmannia is amazing. I mean, it's been used for thousands of years in Chinese herbal formulas. And traditionally, it was used to boost kidney function. Now, the way the Chinese qualified and classified kidney function on the surface looks a little different than Western medicine, but what we've learned through science is they're actually very unified, they're very similar. So there's a couple different ways Rehmannia is prepared, and the cooked version or the more prepared version had more of an impact on kidney yin. And you're like, what? Say what? So yin and yang are two principles within Chinese thought and in fact in Chinese medicine. What that means to us is that it was very soothing. You know, it's really good for menopausal symptoms or syndromes. It was really good for sleep. It was really good for mood. It just sort of had this calming effect. Really good on regulating estrogen, progesterone. Really good at improving damage of the kidneys. So people who had symptoms of kidney disease, which may not in Chinese medicine be labeled as chronic kidney disease, but the symptoms of it could be well regulated. And a lot of the symptoms of stress, right? Like stress is so ubiquitous for all of us. Our ability to adapt to stress and to grow from stress and get stronger from stress rather than break down and become crabby, frustrated, and sleepless, and all those things. Rehmannia is really good at regulating our stress response. And that's that sort of balance of the kidney energy and chi and life force. And I'll let Fiona talk to you a little bit about the science of that. The other cool thing about Rehmannia is that it helps detoxify. So it helps your body get rid of junk that it doesn't need, and it brings down like inflammation. It brings down sort of the fires of stress and creates a clarity, a balance, an even keel. You know, it's like a ballast in a ship. You know, in the old days when a ship maybe, for example, would go from America or London to New York before we had big ocean liners and airplanes, they had these big boats. And the way they would keep those boats from flipping over and help them stay on track is they would put ballast in the bottom of the boat, like big rocks, basically. And so that's kind of what Rehmannia is. It's ballast in the bottom of your boat so that, you know, the winds of stress may come, or you may eat a crappy meal, or you may get exposed to some toxins in the air. And all of that, Rehmannia is helping your body just sort of stay centered, so that, you know, you may waver a little bit, but you come back to center. So that's the way I see and love Rehmannia.
Yeah, what a beautiful way of explaining Rehmannia. So in the West, we still call it Rehmannia glutinosa. It sometimes is commonly known as Chinese foxglove. But yeah, I much prefer Rehmannia. And one of the things we were talking about is in traditional Chinese cultures, it's touted as one of the 50 most important herbs that they have in their repertoire. And they've got a lot of amazing herbs and concoctions that they use. So it's up there as being one of the most important. So we know it for, Rehmannia is very specific for disorders related to the kidneys, and it's also the adrenal glands. So again, it's an adaptogenic herb, which I've spoken about in a previous video. And that's what Matt was talking about, an even keel. We would call that the body's ability to adapt to stress. And so you get these adaptogenic herbs, which is what Rehmannia is. So the key actions that we know of Rehmannia, it is a kidney protecting herb. So again, it protects the kidneys. It stops problematic bleeding. So if people have blood or bleeding disorders, it can be really useful there. It's anti-inflammatory, lowers fevers. It balances the immune system. It's an energy tonic, the adrenal gland tonic that I spoke about, anti-anemic, and again, adaptogenic. So the research done on Rehmannia has shown that that Rehmannia has a kidney protective effect. It does that in a few different ways. So firstly, Rehmannia is antioxidant and anti-inflammatory. So antioxidant being that it reduces free radical damage, induced damage to cells from environment, medication, stress, and then anti-inflammatory, which Matt, we should probably do a video on just why inflammation is so bad, because we keep coming back to it. But inflammation, Matt's mentioned this before, that the tissues cannot heal while there's some level of inflammation going on. And it's not that inflammation is a bad thing, it's a natural product of our immune response. But long-term chronic inflammation, where the body should have turned off an inflammatory response, be it due to stress or a pathogen, what we're finding now in our modern world is people's ability to turn off the inflammatory response is being hindered by toxins or chronic exposure or poor diets or whatever it is. And so Rehmannia helps to turn off that chronic long-term inflammation to then allow your tissues underneath to heal. So it's also amazing. Rehmannia increases the body's major antioxidant enzymes. So we've got these enzymes called superoxidase dismutase, catalase, and glutathione peroxidase. And they're the molecules or the enzymes that are used or promoted by the body to help mop up what we call free radical damage. And then because it increases glutathione peroxidase, it raises glutathione levels in the body, which is amazing. And of course, glutathione being one of our primary antioxidants, so it can then reduce damage done to the kidneys and other organs. And it also increases or activates, it reduces the activation of nuclear factor kappa beta, NF kappa B, which is an inflammatory cytokine, or a protein, that upregulates inflammatory cytokines in the body, if I get that right.
You know, it's a really good point. Can I jump in on that? And
I'm in.
So I just remembered something. A lot of times, if I'm working with somebody and there's autoimmunity of any variety, I'll look. One of my questions is if I find or sense that there's an immune system thing, I'll often use certain cytokines in my testing, especially those that stimulate T regulatory cells. Yes. And so what Rehmannia does is it's really good to stimulate T regulatory cells. And if you're going, what are they talking about, T regulatory cells? Think of that as the diplomat in your immune system that's like, hey, everybody, let's just sit down and have a conversation. Cooler heads will prevail. It is the, hey, you know what? I need you to get up. I need you to sit down, wait your turn, hold on. So Rehmannia is so cool, and with autoimmunity, and I just that you just struck me with that, and I realized that I was unconsciously using Rehmannia to downregulate NF beta, right?
Yep. NF kappa B, yep.
Yeah, because it's good for those T regulatory cells. It's so important with kidney stuff too, because as people go through the process of taking the supplements and doing the kidney disease solution, I think one of the huge byproducts, whether it's the herbs, the supplements, the alkaline diet, the breathing, the meditation, we are optimizing immune function and optimizing the body's ability to heal itself. So Rehmannia is super good for the kidneys, but it also has all these other auxiliary benefits. And I love how you said the mopping up of stuff. So the superoxide dismutase, the glutathione, and the catalase, that's like scrubbing rust. You can't paint over rust. I remember when I was a kid, my mom bought this car. She bought it for $35. It was a Chevy Nova. This is how we drove around my town. I was incredibly embarrassed. Like we would pull up to school and it would be like, you know, like straight out of a movie. And it was so rusty. And she would kind of like paint over the rust every season until I was like, you can't paint over rust. So our body can't either. And so these components of Rehmannia, they get rid of rust. So oxidation is rust. That's why the Statue of Liberty is green, because it's oxidized and it's not necessarily rusting, but copper turns green when it oxidizes. Metal rusts. We rust. And so you've got this like basically anti-aging superfood that regenerates kidney tissue and makes you a better human being. Literally it does.
Thank you for explaining that. I love that. That's the rust analogy. And yeah, hopefully you've now got a better understanding of what we're talking about when we're talking about antioxidants and free radical scavengers and things like that. So that's a great explanation of it. I will add, because there's some of this scientific research that I think you guys will find really useful. So Rehmannia protects the kidneys from damage. And it does this by inhibiting the expression of something called angiotensin 2. So angiotensin 2, an important word to remember, it's involved in the accumulation of specific proteins which contribute to scarring and inflammation in the kidneys, which is called glomerulosclerosis, which is something we definitely want to prevent in as kidney disease progresses. So one of the amazing things that Rehmannia does is it blocks that accumulation or that expression of that angiotensin 2. So therefore it slows down, or it basically stops the scarring or the inflammation that happens into the kidneys. So there was a study done, it was done on humans, it's a human trial, and they've shown that by inhibiting angiotensin 2 and other proteins, that Rehmannia was able to stop the progression of scarring and deposits in the kidneys. And in doing that, it slowed and prevented the decline in kidney function, which is amazing. So because it does that, we know, again, in human clinical trials that Rehmannia can reduce creatinine levels, reduce protein loss in the urine, and improve kidney function. And that will be expressed through an improvement in glomerular filtration rate, which of course are all numbers that you want to see change in kidney disease. So Rehmannia is one of those herbs that has been proven in clinical trials to do that. If you head over to PubMed and put in Rehmannia and kidney disease, you'll find some studies that come up. In another randomized controlled trial, and this was done on 479 patients, Rehmannia was given alongside a angiotensin receptor blocker called ibostan, and it was given to patients with glomerulonephritis. And the group that took the Rehmannia and the ibostan had a significantly higher reduction in protein in the urine and blood in the urine than those given just the angiotensin receptor blocker, which is the Isteraban alone. So finally, it's also anti-diabetic. We all know that diabetes is a massive contributor to kidney disease, so Rehmannia is amazing there. It increases blood flow into the kidneys. So one of the reasons that we get kidney damage can be due to a lack of blood flow, whether that be from high cholesterol or inflammation in the arteries and the little veins that come into the kidneys, and then lack of oxygen coming into the kidney tissue then further stimulates more scarring in the kidneys. So making sure that you've got a healthy, regular blood flow going through the kidneys is really important to maintaining kidney health and kidney function. So Rehmannia works that way. And then it does a couple of other cool things, like it treats osteoporosis, which I won't go into, but as we get older, that's something we're all thinking about. So it definitely helps with osteoporotic patients. And Matt mentioned, but it's an amazing immune modulator. So, and it does that by all the ways that Matt talked about. And then again, it's that adaptogenic adrenal restorative herb, which does encapsulate the kidneys, but great for people that are really not coping with stress or that have lost their ability to cope with stress. And the final thing I want to say, which is also very cool, is Rehmannia has been shown to mobilize stem cells. So this is it popped into my mind then as I was about to finish. I'm like, hang on, there's one other thing that Rehmannia does. So I'm sure most of you have heard what stem cells are. There's so much research going on in the world at the moment about using stem cells, but stem cells are your body's own built-in repair system, basically. And what happens is when tissues are worn out, we send in stem cells to go and rebuild that sort of stuff. So the Rehmannia has been shown to stimulate our own production of stem cells in the body. So it's not like having stem cell therapy where you're introducing maybe your own or somebody else's stem cells. Rehmannia will work on your ability to create more of your own healthy stem cells in a really good level. So then if your system's under stress that requires stem cells, you've got that repair promoting cells to do their jobs and go in and revitalize your organs. So yeah. Contraindications and cautions, things you should know about. And again, I want to reiterate, you should always talk to your naturopath, Chinese herbal medicine practitioner, or your general practitioner before adding in any herbs into your regime. But because Rehmannia has this anti-diabetic effect, it may lower blood sugar. So if you're on anti-diabetic medication and then you take Rehmannia, you should keep an eye on blood sugar levels just in case they come lower, because that is definitely how effective Rehmannia is. It may then further lower blood sugar levels, and we don't want that happening if you're not keeping an eye on things. So that's all the stuff that I wanted to say about the amazing herb that is Rehmannia.
Awesome. And it's in our Genesis formula. So you can learn more about that down below in the links below. Click subscribe and stay with us. And here's to your health and transforming kidney disease in your life.
Yeah. See you next time, guys. Bye.